All right. There's a cool feature on Zoom where you can hide all panels that don't have their video on. So I only see like 6 people right now. It's like, great. Let's see here. All right, we're going to give people just a few minutes here while the waiting room still stays full. I'm going to let people in and then we'll kick off today's session. We're going to be talking all about circle prospecting today, which we'll talk about kind of a traditional view today. And then we're also going to talk about how to really like be a pro at circle prospecting and what that actually means and what that looks like. I'm going to talk about some of the ways that agents use circle prospecting to just dominate neighborhoods. And so I'm going to give you guys a couple different concepts to run with today. Let's see here. Anybody want to share any wins to start with today? I could use some wins for it being like Wednesday, middle of the week. Like, give me something good, people. Give me something good.
I got a win.
What do you got?
Well, right now I'm dropping off my newsletter. I've been doing it for 13 years. And yesterday, five different people thanked me so much for it. Shook my hand, said if they're gonna sell, they're gonna use me. So it was
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't knock on the door or ring the doorbell or interrupt their life, but I do leave it on the doorstep. So a lot of them have never met me over the past 13 years. And so when they meet me, they're just super thankful. It's pretty cool.
How often do you put out this newsletter, Stephen?
I do it quarterly.
Quarterly. So
So
once a
yeah,
quarter, you have a neighborhood that you walk. How many
yeah.
houses?
There's 1,000 homes. So
Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure I'm understanding this. And you're getting big cheers all over the place right now. You
yeah.
walk 1,000 homes once a quarter?
Yep. And then I have the agents on my team. They each have a 500 home farms. So
Ah,
1,000 is quite a bit. I don't really recommend 1,000, but I think 500 is the sweet spot. And
okay.
yeah, it's a
Like,
little bit old. It's a little old school, but when I
bro.
got my license in 2012, I was told by the old guy who was teaching the class, John Lumblow, he's like, it's all about quality and making those connections. And he
Is
suggested 250 homes, and then actually he suggested knocking, but I'm just not a knocker. I don't like doing
I'm
it.
okay with that. Like the
Yeah,
fact that like you're walking the neighborhoods though 4 times a year, man, is incredible. It also
yeah.
it goes it's almost like I paid you to say this because it's such a great tee up into what we're going to talk about today that
Oh,
this was
nice.
the best win I could have asked for in regards to sharing. So like mad
Wait,
props from my chair, man. That's dedication to really like keeping a rooted habit going. What would you say I don't know if you track it, if you have some way of tracking, how many conversions come from this, or if
yeah,
it's part of your nurturing. Do you have a call to action on these newsletters?
yeah, for sure. So like when I first started, picking out the farm was really important to me. I ended up picking out the farm I lived in at the time. I don't live there anymore. But
Okay.
I went with the area that had the most turnover, not the most expensive homes, not the this or that, but just the most transactions in a year. And this area definitely is. And then from there, yeah, tracking it, I would say, I mean, the cost of it is nothing compared to the return. Um, I would say on average, I get around 5 deals a year from it.
That's amazing.
And yeah, and it's people that are selling, but then they might buy somewhere else. Like there's a few people that I've helped buy and sell 3 or 4 homes over the years.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah, so it's like lifelong relationships that you build, and it just becomes this big web, of
Yeah.
connections.
Well, congratulations, man. Kudos to you. Thank you for the
Thanks.
win here. I know I speak for many people here that's something above and beyond. Like that's not something I've heard in a really long time in regards to
Oh,
so
one last thing, Mike, before I check out. During COVID, I decided to start mailing the newsletters, and I ended up mailing them for the 3 years following COVID. I realized I didn't get any results from it. Not like the results died off. The hand delivery is like they respect it. It's like they really respect the person who's doing that. And it's not just about real estate. It's a lot about the community
well,
stuff.
and I'm going to suggest too, it's also a lot about how it shakes up the delivery method. And I'm going
Yeah.
to about that today and
Yeah.
why some of the way that we prospect, even if you do almost the exact same thing, just in a different manner, the way you're doing, why it can change the results so much. So thank you
Yeah,
for that. I really appreciate that.
for sure.
I'm going to kick off today, guys. Welcome. And we've got obviously back-to-backs between the session and the accountability group. So I try to kind of keep this portion, again, just for like the training and learning aspects. So for right now, I am going to turn off permissions to unmute yourself. But I will obviously open up questions if we have time at the end of the session, and we can always go into discussion. A couple of the things that tend to come out of this session that I want to just prepare you for, that we will be learning in later sessions. I'm not going to answer a lot of questions or talk and dive into like what are the resources and companies and how to do mailers and just listed, just solds, things of that nature, because we've got an entire session training on it. Okay. So today I want to stay focused on circle prospecting as a traditional approach, and then also how to really kind of grow it beyond just marketing when you have a listing or a sale that occurs. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'll share my presentation. Let me just get it fired up for you guys, make sure that it's ready to go. 2 seconds. Because it doesn't want to participate with me. There we go. All right. Nope. Didn't work. 2 seconds. Can you guys see that? Perfect. Excellent. So circle prospecting, when we talk about this topic and when we really look at, where do agents make mistakes, and even some of it is just based on like the understanding of the terminology. I want to point out two indifferences that are going to be kind of like the foundation for today's session. Not being consistent enough with their circle prospecting efforts, right? Not making it something where they're constantly communicating with the community throughout the year, and then being too broad in their circle prospecting efforts. This is a hyper specific way to target a region. And so I'll give you an example. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I had a buddy who used to try to circle prospect a community called Broomfield, Colorado. And its total population isn't that big, but it's very sprawling as far as size. And it contains hundreds of neighborhoods, hundreds. And he would just beat his head against the wall because there was no physical way for him as an individual to truly farm and stay like credible at the consistency and volume that he wanted to on a neighborhood that was that big, or a city and size that was that big. So it'd be like someone saying, okay, I'm going to circle prospect Manhattan, New York. Like, no, you're not. If you are in New York City, like you might be targeting a 4x4 block radius for your circle prospecting. If you are in the burbs, circle prospecting is probably going to be limited more to like a singular neighborhood or connecting neighborhoods that all circle around one physical kind of commercial, retail and restaurant district, everything kind of within a general area of there. And I'll talk about why. So we'll come back and I'll take lots of questions on targeting today if you guys have those questions. But I've broken the session up into 3 different parts. And the first one is all about consistency and your habits. And so a couple things I want to cover. First off, circle prospecting as a concept is more than probably what you expect, but I do want to also help set your expectations when you decide I'm going to circle prospect this type of community, or I really want to make this more of my annual operation. Number one, you're leaving money on the table if you only circle prospect when you have a new listing or you have it just sold. I want to be really clear with that. Now, that is sometimes unavoidable, okay? Meaning that I might have 2 or 3 neighborhoods that I specialize in, and then I get a friend who calls me who's 25 minutes away, right? And I'm going to go take that listing, and I'm going to do that listing, but it's not a neighborhood that I focus on annually. That's okay. Right? Just understand that this is not something that should be the case all the time. You can't farm every neighborhood on the planet Earth and be successful. Okay. But you are leaving money on the table if your primary target markets, you're only prospecting on a circle value once every couple year or every couple months. Okay. Circle prospecting should allow you to become an expert in a specific area, but it includes a combination of marketing an important anchor. And when I say anchor, that means like an actual thing, something that I can talk about. So a listing or a sale. And it involves networking with businesses, organizations, and trusted resources within a community. Okay. The whole goal for this is to build a long-term pipeline. Like, and Stephen and his win today is a perfect example of that. It's consistency, and he now has a pipeline of people that he even mentioned today that were like shaking his hand. Thank you for this. We really appreciate this. When we sell, we're using you. Like all of those things, that is future business for him. That is the way to ensure that you never go out of business, no matter what NAR does, no matter what the government does, no matter what the economy does, is making sure that you have these relationships intact. Circle prospecting will also increase your personal brand awareness within communities, and it should lead to new listings and buyer clients. Like, hear me when I say this, there should be a return on investment, a conversion from these particular efforts, right? This isn't just like nurturing and sending an email campaign, to all of your contacts throughout the year. Like, this has real profitability built into it. Now, when we look at the marketing of a specific anchor, and this is going to be what we consider kind of more the traditional sense, right? How many people, just in the chat, you can just say yes, no, etc. How many people fairly religiously send a just listed or a just sold, just rented to basically a targeted community? So the circle basic of circle prospecting is that I'm taking basically a property that I just did something with, and I'm marketing to everybody around that property. Right? So all the homes within that region, 250, 500, 1,000 homes. How many people are actually doing that, or actually sending out just listed, just sold, or doing something that you think might be of value? Let me see it in the chat. Your admin does it. I love it. Okay. So you even have, Bill, for you have the system already down. So it's like, hey, when we get a listing, we do this. When something sells, we do this. I love that. Excellent. Good. And if you are a no, has it been because of, is it cost? Is it complexity? Is it time? What is it that keeps you from doing that almost on a religious basis, for every time that something happens? Please put that in the chat for me. Okay. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. So I think that, when we look at this, let's start with like just listeds, because the things you can do for a just listed or a just sold are fairly similar, but there are some, I think, some deviations that make sense based on one thing is at the start and one thing is at the end. But just listed, if you have a listing, one of the things that you can do in your circle prospecting targets is obviously a mailing strategy. Now, I've seen it be really effective to either combine or follow up that initial just listed strategy with like a hyper local market focused trend piece, right? Like, here's this neighborhood or even this kind of house, something that's hyper specific, following up after, a just listed went out to the same houses, or combining that with the piece. That's a good value add for communities. We see higher conversion when more focus is on value add. Warm calling strategies. So that means, like, if I have anyone in my current sphere of influence that is in that community, this is also a great time to pick up the phone and call those specific people individually. Hey, it's Mike. I just took a listing on Broad Street. I'd love to invite you out for the open house, the preview, the whatever it is. Like, come on by. Like, this is a great purpose-driven time to call sphere of influence when you have a listed place, but only call the individuals that live in that neighborhood. Right? So you're not trying to call an entire book of people. Initial open house, door knocking neighbors, door hangers. We've actually seen an acceleration over the last 24 months in door hangers and the conversion on door hangers. A lot of people are getting calls on that. But just announcing that there's an open house, announcing that there's a new listing, getting a chance to meet the neighbors. And Stephen pointed out, one of his mentors said, do 250 homes. I don't care if it's 50 homes. Right? It's like, pick that street in which the listing is on and just do that street or like the surrounding block. That's totally fine. Social media, right? This is when you also should be targeting those Facebook groups, those mom groups, those pops groups, those different groups that you might be a part of that are hyper specific to that community. And then I'm also looking at where are there other community resources, right? Whether that's flyers, whether that's putting something up, whether that's sharing information with a maybe a luxury resource in the area, if there's a really nice restaurant, etc. Like, how can I creatively also get myself in there to make these little kind of mini announcements, etc. So when it comes to just listed, there's lots of things that you can do, a lot beyond just a mailing strategy that can help not only promote that listing, but there are all ways, guys, for you to have organic conversations, build your list, create brand awareness, and start to build likeness and trust from your community, right? Like, we need that in all contexts. And so listings and deals help us do that. Now, on a sold, because some of you don't list, some of you work with buyers, and so you're like, Mike, I do a lot of selling, but I don't do a lot of listing. You're still looking at similar strategies. When you sell a property from the buyer side, buyer rep side, you absolutely should still be circle prospecting. You should still be sending out a mailed strategy, either followed with or combined with a hyper local market trends piece. Warm calling strategy. At that point, when something is sold, it's actually probably better for you to combine that with likely to sells in the area, for sale by owners, vacant owners, etc. When it comes to a warm call strategy there, you could obviously still call your sphere of influence as well. But if you reached out to them on the front side and the sale happened quickly, you may not want to reach out to them again on the back side. Post-sale door knocking neighbors to inform them of the sale price. Like, hey, this just occurred. This just sold. This went really well. Like, this had multiple offers. This was only on the market a few days. I wanted to let you guys know, because sometimes it's not transparent online. And it's just, again, another excuse for you to meet people and have conversations about real estate. Also, after a listing, door drop-offs, which is similar to what Stephen is doing, but on home value estimates, right? Like, so on the top cover, it would be what just sold. And then the back cover would be like a single page, like almost just quick CMA or MLS of what their house might look like. This takes a little bit of prep. Like, it takes you putting together a format of what you would want, but it is a great reason then to drop off to 50, 100 homes surrounding that property you just sold, those value estimates for their home. It's an easy way to get conversation. And then again, social media groups, similar to what we talked about before. So your traditional sense, guys, of prospecting and circle prospecting really comes down to trying to expand what you think as normal in order to create more conversations for yourself, using the situation of your listing or that sale as the topic or the anchor to your marketing and promotion. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to check the chat real quick just to see how we're doing on questions. Definitely time complexity. I love that. And thank you guys for responding to that. Lack of organization, costs to be consistent. And some of that can get dialed in, Nicole. You can at least get it to a format where like the price per house. And you're like, okay, obviously there's properties where our commission may not be as great as others. And so what we do may lack just based on our budget opportunity there. Vince, decision fatigue. That's interesting. I want to talk more about that here in a minute. I don't do it because I haven't done it, or I have done it and it doesn't lead to anything. And I definitely want to hear about that it's our lead question. In fact, in our accountability group today is, if you've done something and it hasn't worked, let's talk about it. And then no recent sales over the years, all over town. That makes sense. Okay. So sporadic, not enough to just focus and target. Awesome. Good responses. Thank you, guys. Nomita, I'm not taking any questions right this second, love. I know. You always have one too, and I love you to death for it. So continuing the circle, the third phase of this is like, how do I expand these efforts to really dominate a neighborhood? And I'll give you guys an example. I worked with an agent about 5 years ago who does about $80 to $90 million in real estate, and he does not leave like a 3-block radius of his home. Now, he is in New York City, so that does matter, right? But he does not leave a 3-block radius of his apartment. Like, that's all he sells. He knows every restaurant owner, every business, every organization. He knows the transportation facilities. He knows where people hang out. He knows the community amenities. Like, he is a part of everything because he has made it his sole purpose to be interested in the people in his community, right? He knows the apartment buildings. He knows the leasing staff of those apartment buildings. Like, if someone is moving, someone is buying, someone is selling, there's a good chance that he knows about it. And that is surely because most of his time gets spent visiting those businesses, right? He gets out. And the one thing you want to ask yourself in your own community is, where do people go? Like, in a community, where do they go? Like, I don't leave my town that often. I only leave if my town doesn't have something that I really need, right? What do the people in your community like to do? Who do they interact with on a daily basis? And I want you to think about like dry cleaners, police, crossing guards, all of those kinds of people. Like, who is it that they constantly are interfacing with, and who in the town do they trust? That is your hyper focus when it comes to circle prospecting. So what we're trying to do here is we combine your efforts when you have a sale, right, or a listing, and we want you to expand that to, I want to talk about the businesses and I want to talk with everyone in the community, so that when someone goes somewhere, it's almost impossible for them to not see my sign somewhere, right? And so when you're out there talking about businesses, organizations, et cetera, I do have some tips. And I'm going to make this entire operation available today for you guys. But number one is be interested. Businesses want to refer, other businesses that they feel are truly good people and that are genuinely interested in others. So you dropping by a business and being like, hey, I just want to drop off my card, or being like a little shy about it and being like, can I just put this here? Because you hope that someone's going to see your card and just magically want to take it, isn't going to convert anything. It's not worth your time. What's worth your time is walking in and being like, hey, why'd you start this business? What do you love about this business? How can I support it the most in regards to being a customer? Or what makes you unique? Like, invest your time and your questions, guys, into these businesses. And in turn, you will find the ones that will genuinely return that favor and invest in you. Ask questions, frequent follow-up, be memorable, remember people's names, remember special dates, like when they opened, when they started, if they're having a party, if they mention something in conversation of like, oh, this weekend I'm going to somebody's birthday, like ask about that birthday the next time you see them. And I know that we talked yesterday in the buyer sessions. I think it was the buyer session, either buyer session or seller session this week, about the plod notes, right? Or ways to like actually take notes with AI. And some of those are very wearable. Some of those are very easy to turn on. Take those with you, because it's the easiest way for you to organize data and notes, and it can even store it for you. Also, they'll make it really easy for people to refer to you, right? One of the hardest situations that other people or consumers state about their real estate professionals is they go, I can't remember their name. I don't have their contact phone number. I don't remember where it is, etc. You need to make it really easy for a business to be able to refer you, right? Because that's not their job. It's not their specialty. They don't know how to talk about real estate. And so whether that's pre-printed pieces, your business cards, putting your cell phone in their cell phone, as real estate guy, I never do my name, right? Like real estate guy Mike, my name will never be first. I always have real estate as the word, so that if they're just searching real estate, I'm the first person that pops up in their contacts. So email, etc., however it is that you prefer to be contacted, make it easy for people to refer to you. And then always look for ways, guys, to collaborate with businesses, right? Look for ways where you can meet their best clients. Look for ways where you can support bringing your friends, your clients into their business. Like, look for those opportunities, because it just kind of takes it to the next level. So I have got about 4 minutes here. Just make sure. Oh, I did want to show you guys one diagram today. So like as a visual, this is what kind of like your prospecting efforts should look like throughout the year, right? I'm putting some effort here in working with the businesses and the locales, and like I'm creating a habit of just being social out in my environment. And then I've got these major pushes that we're going to call anchors, right? That are basically my listings or my sales that occur within a region, that I'm now like, I'm elevating my promotional activity during those periods of time. And so during these periods of time, that's when you're door knocking, that's when you're calling, that's when you're sending out things. During this period of time, I'm just meeting businesses. I'm having coffee, I'm having conversations, I'm showing true interest in the people of the community because I know that the people of the community will then entrust me. And it's banking on that. I'll give you guys one more example too before I go to questions today. I went to coffee 2 days ago, and there is a photographer in my town that I know. I sit on our library committee. I'm a big reader. She was on the committee with me. I've known her for a few years, and she's everywhere. And I was always like, how does she get everywhere? Like, she's in the schools, like she's in the businesses, like you see her posting head, like everybody uses her. And I witnessed it for the first time 2 days ago. I was sitting in a coffee shop. She walks in. I haven't seen her personally or had a conversation at least 2 years with her. Like, I've seen her in town, but I have not had a conversation or had a face-to-face with her in probably 2 years. She walks through the door. She spots me across the coffee shop. She says, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, hi." Right? We had a cordial, nice, maybe 2-3 minute conversation. I get home that afternoon. Within probably an hour of me being done at the coffee shop, I got an email from her. "Great to see you today. Would love to catch up sometime. Loved your new puppy. I had a dog with me." Right? And that was it. Right? No hard sell, no call to action, just like a quick follow-up. Her communication skills were perfect. Right? She's got the habit down. She communicated. She stayed in front. She said hello. She remembered my name. Everything that we want from a professional. Even if I didn't like her services, guys, if I didn't like her photography, I think she was good. Like, she is amongst the people that I will call the next time I want to do family pictures for my kids, right? Like, that is future business for her. That's who you want to be in your community. So, Nomita, I am going to start it off. You've had your hand up for 27 minutes. Go right ahead. You're on mute, though, so you do have to do that. Oh, try it again. Now you should be able to.
Okay. So I shared a listing with an agent from the East Bay, and she's from another company, from Christie's. Because she was my coach one time, she said, "Nomita, you know the area. Will you partner with me?" And I said, "Of course, yes." And during that time, things were crazy. Long story short, we signed the listing 1 month, but it took like 3 months after that to really go live. I was on vacation. Anyway, came back, did an open house, sold it, had multiple offers. So my question is, since we sold it there and it was a shared listing, can I still send a sold card? Because my sign is still there, which says, because they had rent back for 45 days, it will be gone in 2-3 days. That was my one question.
All right, so I'm
And
going to
is
answer
it
this.
then do you think I should then door knock around that house?
I mean, 1,000% you should door knock. Like, regardless of what the rest of this answer is going to look like, I definitely think you should door knock.
Okay.
2 parts to this answer. And so all my compliance people, I need you to put your earmuffs on for a second, okay? Because I'm going to speak to you straight about the law part of it, and then I'm going to talk about, like, the ethical part of it, okay? Promoting a listing when it's active requires an actual agreement from the owner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Promoting a sale of a listing does not require any agreement from anyone.
Okay.
Legally. So, like, for instance, if you wanted to, I could take 15 listings. Now, I can't say I sold them. Does that make sense? That would be a lie. But I could send my neighbors, "Hey, here are 5 properties that sold this month." And I am not obligated under anything to actually promote the brokerage name unless there is a link. So, like, I can say these 5 properties sold. This is the top listings in the neighborhood. This is the top sales. If it is currently listed with a client and I'm talking about it and it is not mine, I must give proper allocation to the firm that is currently listing it. Does that make sense? But once it is sold, there are no guidelines. It's now just a public record. It's a public piece of data. So do I think that you should market it as a just sold for yourself? That would depend on how the listing agreement was structured. Was it structured as a co-brokerage listing agreement?
Yes.
where
Yes.
both your brokerage and the other brokerage were listed, then
Correct.
100% you sold that
Well,
property.
no, so in MLS, it only allows you to
I don't
put
care what the
one.
MLS said. Nothing. MLS nothing to do with legal law.
Okay. Yeah,
to-
but on the form, yes.
Yeah. So on the exclusive right to list or exclusive
Yes.
listing agreement, it listed Compass, you, and another brokerage.
Right. Yeah.
All I care about, you sold the property.
Yeah. So I can go door knock or
You
send
can
a
go door
just-
knock even if you didn't have that. If I assisted somebody, I'm going door knocking. And I'm going to door knock and be like, I helped out with that sale over there. I'm not going to claim it. I'm not going to say it was mine. That's where, guys, the ethical boundary of this comes into play. You can use any sale data to start conversations. It's when you start saying, I sold these top 5 properties when you didn't. That's where I have a problem. That makes
correct.
sense.
Yeah. So I have a farm, and in that, so you mentioned something about door hangers. What would you put on a door hanger?
Let me
I've
speak
never done
on
it.
that. And let me also get to a few other questions in our accountability, but I will talk about that on the door hangers on the accountability session. I'm going to post our accountability link here and give you guys a few seconds to all jump over there while I keep this session live. If you already have the link, please jump to that. And I will be over there in just a second. Let me get you guys though the link to this guy. It is not cooperating with me, guys. Dun, dun. There it is. All right. Technology success at its best. There is the Zoom link, guys, for our accountability. I will see you guys over there in just a few moments. Click on that. I'll give about another 30 seconds before I jump off myself. See you soon.